Hola, ¿qué tal? Aquí Julio Monroy desde Delta Records. Hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial, está en Inglaterra, seguramente todos ustedes lo habrán conocido. Y recuerden que este live va a estar en inglés y tendremos subtítulos en español. Así que aquí vamos. Hey Warren, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Oh yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Great.
Thank you for stay here in our live stream.
Well,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'm very excited. Um, we had a great time, didn't we, at Abbey Road? We're about 3 weeks ago now. That was a lot of fun.
1 month ago. Yeah, it
Was it
was
one
pretty
month?
amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
so thank you for the stay here. And we are with David Sicard in the controls. Hey, David.
Hello, everyone. How are
Hey,
you?
David.
Welcome to. Hi, Warren. Thank you a lot for being here with us. It's a huge honor. We are really excited to have you here. And welcome to all the people that are connecting through all streaming platforms. Remember that if you got any questions, you can actually send them through the comment section of the streaming platform on which you are watching, and I will communicate the questions to both Julio and Warren. I leave you with the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Marvelous.
Well, Warren, we only have two mandatory questions here in the live stream. Yeah, I'm going to begin with the first, and
Yep.
it's can you tell us how did you begin in this music industry audio world?
How did I begin? Oh,
Yeah.
um, I mean, really, it's the only thing that I ever wanted to do. So it's sort of, I don't really feel like there was a beginning because it's all I've ever done. That's not entirely true. I did do art and paint and draw and stuff like that, and I did think that I was going to be an artist for a minute and spent a year at art college. But if you know anything about British musicians, most of us end up going to art college for a year while we figure out what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. So, but no,
Yeah.
I mean, I just got started. The first thing I ever did was obviously have my own band. My first band, I think I was 15. By the time I did my 1 year of my art course, I was playing in another originals band, and then I moved to the north of England
Hmm.
and joined a club band and just toured around playing like post punk, new wave, and funk covers, and playing working men's clubs and pubs. And it was a real baptism of fire, but I would not change it for the world. It was amazing to go out every night and play these songs by all these incredible artists. Great training.
Yeah. So, but do you sing? Do you play guitar, drums, everything?
Yeah, I do everything. It's basically if it's stringed instruments, so guitar, bass, mandolin, whatever, anything with strings on it, really good. Then piano about here, and then drums about here. And I sing, but I've never thought myself as a singer. I've always been a writer or a co-writer.
Oh,
That's sort of how
cool.
I see my strength.
Wow, cool. And Warren, what about your family? Are they musicians?
My father unfortunately died a few years ago, but he was a painter and a sculptor. So not a musician, but he loved music, absolutely adored it. And you know that I think is the biggest part of why I ended up doing music, because I've just come home and from school, and there'd just be music in the house. I grew up listening to music like non-stop, classical music, jazz. Um, Couple of pop things. He had like one Bob Dylan album. He had one Rolling Stones album. He had a Moody Blues album. Days of Future Having Passed. I think he might have had In Search of a Lost Cause as well. But he had like and he bought Tubular Bells when it came out. So there was like these handful of pop rock albums, but mainly classical music and jazz. And I'm really thankful for that, because I think if you're going to grow up with music played by your parents, classical music and jazz is a nice way to get the ear tuned in.
Yeah. Warren, I was wondering, well, I have seen a lot your videos and your YouTube channel, and how did you begin with Produce Like a Pro?
Well,
Why?
I've always why? Well, why? It's a big question. So essentially, I suppose I've always been the person that everybody came to ask questions for, and my wife said to me, you should see about whether launching a YouTube channel and making this into something more, and it just all sort of morphed from there. I think what was interesting is that I felt like my journey of how I got to own a studio and make big records and stuff really started the way that everybody does now. I didn't go to music school. I didn't go to a college. I just kind of made it up as I went. And I feel like that's what everybody's forced to do these days. Not that there aren't good music schools. There are, of course. But generally speaking, there's not quite the same opportunities as there used to be. And there's certainly not hundreds and hundreds of studios in every town anymore. Well, maybe there wasn't hundreds, but you know what I mean? There's not a huge choice. So most people are just figuring it out on their own. So it seemed like the right thing to do. Let's just showcase and share, how I got to where I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, today your community has more like 800,000 subscribers. So what do you think resonates most with people?
What do I think resonates with people?
Yeah. What about your channel? What do you think that they like more videos, or you mixing, or maybe studio tours? What do you think? It could be.
I think one of the things that we've always strived to do, and is really super important, is to just show everything. And I do understand that you can align yourself with a certain genre or a certain philosophy, and these days, of course, the biggest channels are all rage bait channels. They're all like, this person sucks and this piece of equipment sucks and stuff like that. So, there's all these different ways of building, a community. But ours was just always about like, how can we help each other? How can we elevate people? We've taken so many people that you were not known before and put them right out front and center, and then, and I think that that's really super important. So many of them gone off and been successful in their own right as educators, and I think that this is a big part of what we do. It's like, just come and join us, be part of the community, and we're always here to help you.
Yeah, I think that help people. It's very important, and in YouTube there's a lot of information, but your channel has a quality, good information, and thanks a lot for that, Warren. Yeah, I was talking with David Sicard about the song "How to Save a Life" with the Fray, and he told me that he liked it a lot, that song, that when he was a teenager, it was like,
right.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about that song? Because I think that hearing from yourself, it could be great. How was the music production? Everything that you want to tell us.
Well, the thing that's very important to know about the band, the Fray, is that they were sort of formed in a vacuum. They weren't. They weren't. First of all, they're not from this current period. So even though, of course, we had the internet, we had pretty much everything we have now, it was a different world. You could still become successful by playing shows and getting radio play, and the internet was a part of your success, but not like it feels like now, where everybody goes online first. It was a very different world, even though it's only, I suppose it's 18 years ago now, so God, it's quite a long time ago. But what happened with that was they were very insulated, not just because they just weren't part of any kind of scene. The thing about the Fray is that they were never a Christian band, but they were Christians in a band, and and so they were very, the music they listened to was basically church music, worship music. When I remember when we were working on the second album, for instance, I'd like bring in albums by Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, and they were like freaking out, like, oh, this is amazing. And then the second Counting Crows album, Recovering Satellites, I played them there. I mean, we just went through all of these different things, and it just opened up their mind because they hadn't grown up in an environment where they would hear those kinds of songs. And, these are the kinds of things that I think are really super important. Just to work with any artist, which is to sort of like the sharing of ideas, the sharing of love of music. And that's something that was very unique about working with them because they were a blank canvas. They weren't competing with anybody. They weren't part of like a genre or a scene. They weren't emo. They weren't like a modern rock band. They weren't a metal band. So they weren't competing against other bands of the genre. They weren't listening to everybody else's record saying, we've got to make it louder or faster or this or that. They were just very, very pure. They just wrote songs, particularly Isaac, of course, that meant something. And How to Save a Life is part of, well, he was a camp counselor. He really cared about people, especially younger people, kids at school. I mean, for instance, when we were making the second record, we were in Sausalito at the plant, and we would go, once or twice a week. We were there for about six weeks or something like that. We'd go once or twice a week and have like a big family style breakfast or lunch or whatever, not all the time, but, once or twice a week. And I remember each time we would go, Isaac wouldn't be there. He'd always go, oh, I've got to do something. I've got to go and see my friend. And he'd say John or Dave or Frank or whatever it was. And so he'd be like, okay, cool. And then he would just join us back at the studio. One week, we go for this big breakfast, kind of 11 o'clock kind of thing, it's late morning. We're all sitting there, and Isaac walks in with this guy. And he goes, oh, this is my friend, John. And so we're like, oh, John, nice to meet you. He's introducing him to everybody. He's talking him up and saying, oh, John's a really great artist. He's a teenage kid. He's a great artist. He does this, he does that. And we're all like, oh, nice to meet you. And like, do you want to come to the studio? And so, yeah. So he comes to the studio with us and hangs out for a while, hangs out all afternoon and eventually goes. I come to find out that what Isaac would do is he was part of this Big Brother program. And I think it was through his church. And what he would do is these kids he would meet up with these kids and he'd go and have breakfast with them. And he was like a mentor for them. And he got absolutely nothing for it except just being good to his kids. So every time now he would say to me, oh, I can't join you guys. I'm going to go and meet my friend David or John or Frank or whoever it was. That may have been the first time he met that kid. And he always, so in the songs like How to Save a Life are his experience working in a camp, in like a children's camp. He told stories of working with kids that had bulimia, and all kinds of different upbringings and different stuff, trauma and stuff that they had suffered. And so the Fray weren't a band that was connected to anything at all. And I think what happened with those songs, with How to Save a Life in particular, and the second album with like You Found Me, what happened with those songs is they spoke to a whole generation of kids that just didn't connect to what they were being told was the music they should listen to. They didn't connect to, there was a lot of emo kind of bands around in like 2004, a lot of this kind of, and everything was very, very similar, wasn't it? You remember, it was all like, I'll never, ever, it was all like, it was kind of super auto-tuned, very gridded, kind of generic sounding records that were being pushed on the radio. And every time you turn on the radio, you hear another like kind of emo rock band. And they were very organic. I mean, we didn't tune the vocals. We didn't grid the drums. We didn't do anything like that. It's interesting because I heard a cover the other day by another YouTuber of Cable Car. and he like gridded it, drum samples and auto-tune the vocal and all this kind of stuff. And sure, it sounds like modern, but it loses what was so unique about that band. They weren't the world's greatest musicians, but they were a band and they all played together. They're all really good musicians, but they all played together. They fed off each other and knew how to push and pull and support the vocal. And so the Fray are very, very unique because they had something to say that was nothing to do with what everybody else was trying to do. They didn't sound like anybody else. It's because they had a strong belief system and they worked in isolation and they did something that's really important to them. It's funny because you can't see the camera up here, but right above my head is How to Save a Life, double platinum plaque.
Wow. Oh.
But
Well,
yeah, so I think it's what made it unique.
yeah, very unique. And talking about songs, what do you think makes a song truly great? Which ingredients has to have a song to be
I
a
think there's
great song?
lots.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of things. I think, if we go through my favorite songs, obviously I'm a huge fan of Queen. Anyone that's ever watched the video knows I talk about Queen all the time. And Bohemian Rhapsody was the first kind of song that was like a pop rock song, particularly, rock song that just kind of like, my dad gave me that album for Christmas when I was a little tiny kid, far too young to really understand, but he always treated me much older than I was, and he gave me this album for Christmas and said, this is worthy, like you're allowed to listen to this, because he didn't like most modern pop music or rock music. And so I remember listening to it with his headphones on, these massive 70s Sonys that my dad had, and just thinking, what is this? It was insane. So to me, Bohemian Rhapsody is still something, we use that as an example. What's great about that song, it has what I feel is like the two extremes. Like, I really do believe it's quite easy to write a pure pop song, a 6/4-1-5 or 1-5-6-4 pop song. I could pick up a guitar and go, I don't know, get it, there's a pop melody, and write 100 of those songs every day. And I have done that sometimes when I'm being paid, to write kind of pop songs. And then I think it's actually quite easy, if you're relatively technically proficient with your instrument, to also write really self-indulgent 7-minute insane, this song goes to 7/4 here, then 4/4 here, and then 6/8, and then 5/4 back to 4/4, because you're not adhering to any kind of structure, so you can do whatever you want. The bit that's really, really difficult, and the bit the Bohemian Rhapsody absolutely nails, is this little tiny place where they just kind of meet, and you've got a song which is hooky and poppy enough, and also musically complex, but not overly complex, but complex enough to be interesting and keep your attention. And that's what makes Bohemian Rhapsody, in my opinion, top 1, 2, 3 greatest songs of all time. It's what Good Vibrations has. You listen to Good Vibrations, you're like, oh my goodness, this challenges me on so many levels. It's immediately a great pop song. I want to sing, and I've got, gotta keep those loving good vibrations are happening with a... Then you go to a bridge like that and you're like, where did that come from? It's so amazing. But then you've got all of this amazing instrumentation. Mr. Blue Sky, ELO. I mean, what a masterpiece. It's got a whole string section outro, the overture at the end. So don't get me wrong, Wuthering Heights, another one that has like 7/4 bars in the middle of the chorus, but they're still accessible. So to me, that's not the only great songs, because I love Teenage Kicks by the Undertones. I like, there's some songs, Working Class Hero, John Lennon is essentially A minor and G all the way through, except for I think he hits an E near the end. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, sometimes the songs can be simplistic when they have something really incredible to say. Sometimes, like Picasso said, it took him a lifetime to get to be able to paint and draw so simply. So those simple songs can be, just as important, if not more important, than the complex ones. But to me, the ultimate is when you can marry everything together, because it's so rare. It's so rare. But when you get things that are super, super exciting and complex enough to keep you interested over and over again, to find new interesting things to hear, but they're also pop enough for you to sing along with, that's Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, that's Mr. Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Those are those songs.
And Warren, mm, yeah, I was thinking about, do you know, now in these days, a lot of people are creating music just thinking that this is going to be a hit, and then in 2 months later, that hit ended, and now there's another hit, another hit. So, what do you think about the honesty in music? Do you think that maybe the songs that were created thinking in with the heart, or or thinking about, hey, I'm going to sell that song? What do you think about the honesty in music?
I mean, such a big question. I mean, it's a great question, but it's a big question because, you know, as we talked about the Fray a few minutes ago, you know, those kinds of bands come around once in a lifetime. There's lots of bands that, you know, have something to say. Don't get me wrong, but there's very few that just create music in isolation and make it only about what they have to say. You know, we're all affected by what's around us. Of course, you know, we're affected by our environment. We're also affected by everything here. So it's a big question. But also it's very important for me to put across that music isn't just, you know, big, heavy themes. It isn't just life-changing metaphors. It isn't just all these big deals. It can quite simply be pure entertainment. And that's very, very valid, you know. I mean, that's why I still think Chic and Sister Sledge you know, with Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards are still, you know, some of the greatest music ever created. You know, Le Freak, you know, what a great guitar riff, you know, but what a great song. And it's a groove, it's a feel. People dance to it, you know. When Could You Be Loved comes on by Bob Marley, I mean, wow, does it get any better than that? Dunk, dunk.
Yeah.
The whole dance floor, everybody's just dancing. I mean, so it's not like everything has to be complex and exciting. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it's doesn't have to be complex and saying all these big things. Although Could You Be Loved, of course, it does say a lot. But you see what I mean. There's lots of levels of music, and I think what I love about some of these great songs is that they're able to bring elements of everything. You know, they're able to pay homage to other genres and blend them in. And that's what's always made the music that we love so great. It is that ability to you know, enhance things by dragging in other genres and other feels and other grooves and building something totally unique.
Yeah, thank you. Love your answer. Thank you, Warren. Warren, David is telling me that we have a few questions from the people who are watching the live stream. Go on, David, please.
Great.
That's right, we actually have a lot of comments. Produced Like a Pro is here with us. Your YouTube channel says hi, Julio Warren. We have Francisco Escobar as well. Hi, Warren and Delta Records family. We have Diego Castro as well from Us to the World. And
Hi, Diego.
We have the first question, but first of all, I actually wanted to tell you that my favorite bands when I was beginning college and finishing high school were actually the Struts, Disturbed, the What Could Have Been Love song by Aerosmith was on my top list as well.
Oh, wow.
Matisyahu.
Yeah.
So I was actually checking your muso, your credits, and it was like all my favorite songs in there. So wow, that song is amazing. I love that song. So
we cut the vocal in our studio behind the house, Spitfire, because we did
Really?
with why am I blanking? We did so many yeah, we did a lot of stuff there, guitar overdubs, vocals, and of course mixed half the record there.
Wow, it's pretty amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it's like wow.
Yeah. So the first question is from Francisco Escobar. What types of approaches do you recommend, I guess, to study a new musical genre? He says to mixing, but I'm guessing it's about mixing a new musical genre.
I mean, honestly, I would always be pushing yourself. I think that, I was talking to somebody the other day who's a really big metal producer and mixer, and he just finished a massive album, a number one album in the Billboard charts. And I was saying, I often feel like modern metal and EDM are like, stepchilds, brothers, twins, I should say. There you go. They're twins. And he's like, yeah, it's the same kind of approach. He said, actually, when mixing modern metal, as good as he got, making this incredible metal mixes, when he came to mix some EDM stuff, he said, oh, it's quite easy once you figure that stuff out, because, modern EDM and modern metal is all about, hitting you in the face and getting you engaged straight away. And so I really do believe that you need to have a lot of strings to your bow. You want to mix modern stuff, but you also, which means using a lot of compression, a lot of EQ, a lot of limiting, multi-band EQ, dynamic EQs, all these things to kind of, get the springs as tight as much as possible so everything feels like it's exploding out of the speakers. But also want to be able to take acoustic guitar vocal, maybe a piano, a violin, or a cello, maybe some backgrounds on a shaker and some brushes on a drum kit, and learn how to mix that, not using the same tools. Because when you're mixing something like that, you should be using lighter compression, lighter EQ moves, and doing more automation. So to me, get comfortable at doing something, but then challenge yourself and work in other genres. If you're somebody that's mixing live drums and live organic instruments, you know what? Go and mix a modern metal or EDM track, because you'll learn all these different techniques from other genres and then be able to incorporate them into one. In the same way we were talking about music creation being, maybe taking funk and disco and something groovy and then mixing it with something really angular and modern, that can create something unique. The same thing applies to being a mixer. The best mixers you think of, like Spike Stent or Bob Clearmountain, they don't really have a genre. I know Bob's done a lot of rock, but God, he's done so much stuff in there. He did Women in Chains. He did Start Me Up by the Stones. He's done everything. He did Joe Bonamossa's album in Immersive. I mean, that to me is how you get good at your job. You don't just pigeonhole yourself. Plus, I think these days, the kind of work that is around is about multitasking and working on lots of different things.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And with you, Warren, because there's a lot of multitasking in these days. Huh? And,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. David, do we have more questions?
We do have more questions. We have a question from Diego Castro. He was asking what makes a song especially good, which you have already answered. But I wanted to transform this a little bit. What do you think makes a song to be more permanent during time? Do you think it has to do something with the historical context, the target audience? What do you think makes a song perdure in time?
You mean what makes it sort of stand out and be something that people can relate to?
Become something historical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the answer to that really is when it comes to authenticity, which everybody is craving. I think it's literally just speaking from the heart about whatever subject it is. Just being brutally honest about things. It's really difficult because we live in an age of such manipulation of sounds and performances, all of which it can be used and employed in the best possible way. Maybe you get a great lead vocal by a singer and there was just two moments that are just unbearable where they're so out of tune, but that's the only take you got. So you have to tune it. That's great. But if you live and die by tuning everything to within an inch of its life, we're going to listen back to it in 10 years' time and be like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I think that it's the authenticity that people will gravitate towards. I feel a little bit like, because people think so much better visually, don't they? I think back to like I think it's Alien. Remember the first Alien movie? And
Yeah.
they've got like curved screens, computers, with like black and then green text on it, and it's a little bit curved screens. But you still look at it, and it still feels like the future, even though it's not holographic or flat screen like we expect. But then there was the Aliens, I think, that was directed by, was it like Joel Schumacher or something? I think the guy that went off and did Titanic. And when he did the movie, he had like these lasers that would kind of go up and down like this through kind of an oil smoky thing. And you watch it and it just looks like a Madonna video from 1985. You know what I mean? It's so like, that was what was hip and modern at that time. But it's hard not to watch it. And no disrespect to him, because he was probably doing what he believed was, right. But you look at it and you go, oh, that's made in like 1985 or 86 or whenever it was. You just know it because it's so of the time. But when you watch Alien, the very first movie, it just feels like it transcends all of that. It transcends because it's a story about emotion. It's a story about fear, where you've got John Hurt's character and that thing coming out of his stomach, But you understand my point. It's like, it scares you, and I can still watch that movie. Now I want to go and watch it. You can still watch that movie and still feel like, oh wow, this is, this is edgy, this is real, and this, maybe it could be a little bit more modern here and there, but you lose yourself in the plot and stuff. The plot, and that's something we have to apply to music. It's great. Use the modern technology, use the this, that, and the other, but don't lose sight of the fact that the things that are going to make it timeless, like you're asking about, are going to be what the song is about. Because it's all very well doing "Baby, Baby, I Love You" or "Baby, Baby, You Broke My Heart" and all this kind of stuff. And maybe as a sing-along, it's going to be great. Maybe a lyric to a dance move or something like that could be great. I can think over the last 25 years of like working in the US, I would just hear these different pop songs on the radio, and it would be like a move or a saying, and that's great. But 5 years later, nobody remembers the saying. It was just what was really, really hip. It made a few $1 million for everybody involved at that period, but it's not fulfilling what you're asking. It's not fulfilling a song, like "Don't Let Me Down" by the Beatles. That's always going to be an absolute masterpiece of a song because he's from his heart. He's in love with this woman. And he's like, "Don't let me down, yeah, don't let me down." And you know that he means that. He's in a relatively new relationship, and he doesn't, he's like, I'm so in love with you. I don't want you to, don't let me down, don't break my heart. Don't, I think those are the things that are always going to win. And, I suppose the inevitable question is like, is AI going to do that? Is AI going to do that? I don't know. But I think the authenticity part of it is what's always going to win, Yeah.
Yeah, authenticity. Hey, Warren, talking about Beatles, I was remembering 1 month ago, the studio, and it was a beautiful event. I need to be there again. We are creating a video. So
come and visit us.
I need to go again. Yeah, and you're close to Abbey Road, right?
We're close. Yeah, we walked about 20 minutes to get there.
Oh,
15, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Walking.
Yeah, walking.
Yeah. It was amazing. So I hope to be there again because for me it was a beautiful experience. I saw that you have a studio tour in YouTube, right?
We've done a lot of stuff with Produce Like a Pro. There's quite a few Abbey Road videos that we've done together. Yeah, please check them out and see what you think.
Yeah, they are amazing.
We did a history as well.
My friend,
thanks, carry on.
And in our live stream, we were talking with Genelec. I was talking with Miguel Dominguez from Genelec, and I said, well, please invite me to the Genelec factory because he invited me this past January, but I got sick. But he told me, he said, "Hey, why don't you ask Warren about the Genelec factory?" And we were watching a video. It was very,
yeah.
very cool, right?
Lovely. Karsha and I had such an, and Eric flew all the way out from the US and went to Finland. You know, he's Latino, so he went from from hot-blooded Latino to freezing cold dude, stranded in Finland. You understand? It was so cold,
Yeah,
but it was lovely. It was so much fun. It really was. Yeah.
yeah,
They're sweethearts. I mean, we've been using Genelecs pretty much the whole career. I mean, when I started recording and mixing, they really were the benchmark, the standard. You know, everybody had a pair of 1031s or 1032s, and then a pair of NS10s, and that's what I had, and that's what my ears respond to. And we're building a studio here as well, so we have one in London as well as in LA, and the one in London's going to have Genelecs. In the ceiling, we're going to do an immersive room, so we have it. That's going to be all Genelec. I mean, it's something we know and love, and they're lovely, lovely people. We had an absolute blast working with them, and I'm glad people enjoyed the video because it was genuine. We just went over there and got to hang out with them and see what they do. And lovely people, lovely people.
yeah. We love Genelec. To here in the studio, we have here a Dolby Atmos system. You
Nice.
can check. Yeah, they are amazing. They sound amazing, my friend. Oh, this is my head. Warren, we have I guess 3 more questions from you
Great.
from Instagram. David has the questions.
Please.
Do. First of all, we have Alan Blumlane. He says, hello, Julio and Warren.
Hey, Alan. Hi,
Do you know who?
Great.
Do you know who the name Alan Blumline is?
Yeah, the stereo. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
We were talking with Alan about doing a live stream too, maybe in the next few weeks. It's going to be great. Yeah. Thank you, Alan.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Alan, for being here with us. We actually have hi from Jairo Andrés Buitrago as well. He's saying un saludo amigos, which means hello friends. Tremendo life, which means incredible life. We have a comment from Francisco. I love the deconstruction and stories that Warren narrate about popular songs of the past century. So amazing. Thank you, Warren. We have a question from Alan. What spatial audio mixing have you done?
What? Sorry, what? Oh, spatial?
Spatial audio.
It's still fairly new for. Yeah, it's still fairly new for me. I mean, I went to Dolby. Karsha and I went to Dolby about, I think it was just after that event. So probably about 3 weeks ago. And now we went to Soho Square and actually went there for a couple of events. And we sat, in their movie theater. In fact, we went there back a couple of weeks ago and watched, for David Byrne's release of his new album. And we heard it all in immersive in the Dolby Theater. And I think when I was making an Aerosmith record, I remember being at Capitol and going in, and Al Schmidt was in there with Steve Genowek, and they were mixing. It was Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, in immersive. They couldn't find the original tape, so they had to take a pristine vinyl and feed it back in, and then output it through a PA in Capitol and mic up the room in immersive, and all of these great things that they were doing. And absolutely superb. And that was, I want to say, 12 years ago. It was well before people suddenly, really got into doing the music thing. It was more about, doing it as, it was really at the beginning, I should say, before anybody else was doing it. And I heard Pet Sounds in immersive as well, with the original 4-track and orchestrated. I heard like a rap track in immersive well before anybody else was doing it. And these guys were pioneering. It was Aerosmith and Steve Jedwick 12 years ago, just like doing it before anybody else knew about it. And then of course, so many of my friends got into it really early on, and we've been featuring over the last 8 or 10 years, lots about it. But the crazy thing is that I've not really worked in it beyond, seeing my friends working in it. So this is going to be a baptism of fire for me. But I will have the help of some Dolby guys coming over and showing me some tips and tricks. And I'm excited, super, super excited to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And well, there's going to be a great event in a few weeks, huh? In 1 month, the AES in Long Beach.
Yep.
And I know you're going to be there. Tell us more about it, Warren.
That'd be fun, yeah. If you're in the LA area, it's AES in Long Beach. I highly recommend it. I'm blessed to be able to do the keynote speech there. I've got some friends like Mark Daniel Nelson and some other great people. We're going to interview them and do some panels. Jack Douglas is going to be there. It's going to be huge. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So yeah, come to Long Beach and join us. And there'll be lots of gear companies and lots of demos and all kinds of fun stuff.
Great,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. And I think Julio, do you have talks on Long Beach as well? No, you're doing a talk of synthetic voices and another one with Daniel Liston Kellen.
Yeah, we're going to do a panel with Daniel Listenker, so it's going to be great. So I will see you in 1 month.
You're going to see it. It's great. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
we're going to hang out.
I'm excited.
Okay, David Sicard, tell us, what do you have for us?
We have another comment from John Apple. It was an amazing event. He wrote this when you were talking about Abbey Road, and he's asking, when are you guys coming to New York City? Are you planning to go to New York City?
No plans at the moment. I mean, normally, used to be AES was in New York, so we would have said next month.
Yeah.
But no, we'll be there sooner rather than later. It should be a lot of fun. We love New York. What's not to love about New York? I mean, we're blessed being in London at the moment that, of course, every single night you can go, what show should we go and see? We can go and see a band, we can go and see a movie, but of course we can go and see a musical, a ballet, an opera. It's great. So that's another thing I do love about New York. And I always missed in LA. It was never quite that level. But in New York, of course, it is a city of the night where you can go out. There's always great food to eat. There's always some amazing piece of theater or band playing or whatever. It's an amazing city, New York. So it's definitely right up there,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
No plans.
We have to go. We have to go. John Machado. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Maybe I can go New York and then London. I'm going to Abbey Road again because I am in love with Abbey Road. Thank you, John Machado. Yeah, so David has some advertisement. Tell us, David.
Remember that you're gonna be able to find this episode and all past episodes on all streaming platforms as a podcast. You just have to look for Produciendo con Julio Monroy, and you will be able to find this episode and all the past episodes as well. Also, remember that we have a Discord server where you can actually share us your projects and we can talk about software, hardware, everything about audio. You can join to our Discord. I'm gonna put the QR code in a second. And I mean, we will love to see you all there and connect with you and talk with you about audio and listen to the things that you have done.
Nice.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Well, Warren, we are running out of time, and I promise you it's going to be only 1 hour. But I have my last question, the last mandatory questions. And if you were, if someone ask you an advice, maybe young people, young generations who wants to involve in music, in audio, what would be your advice?
What would be our advice? Very good question. I think that honestly, the best advice I can give is to have a sense of community. Just make sure you're not trying to compete against other people. You're just trying to help each other out. It really is about being supportive of each other. That's pretty much the bottom line. Just kind of just get in there and help each other out, and I think you'll be in a good place.
Yeah, great advice, and I think that's one of the reasons that why you created Produce Like a Pro, because you're helping a lot of people all over the world, including here in South America. Produce Like a Pro and Warren Huart is so popular. So thank you for that for all the information that you gave us.
I should learn to speak Spanish, shouldn't I?
We can teach you, my friend.
Well, you can be our Spanish Produce Like a Pro person, Mr. Julio.
Of course, that will be amazing. It will be produce como un profesional in Spanish. So, produce
you have
como
to
un
type
pro.
that down.
Yeah, produce
write that
como un
down
pro.
for me.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
My friend,
Great.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for
Thank
being
you.
here with us. Thank you, Kasia, for helping us with everything, Produce Like a Pro, everything. I'm very excited, and well, I hope to see you soon in 1 month.
We'll see you in a month. Thank you, Julio.
Thank you, my friend, and thank you, David Seacard, for being here
David.
with us in the controls.
My pleasure,
Yes,
Warren. It was a huge honor to have you here. We are huge fans of everything that you have done, and thank you a lot for taking the time to be here with us. Thanks to all the people that connected as well, the people that left questions. We actually, I mean, we couldn't answer all the questions, but we might eventually need to do a second part because we have a lot of questions. So thank you a lot for all the people that connected, and thank you, Warren. Thank you, Julio, for creating these spaces. I leave you now with Julio Monroy.
Okay, thank you, everyone. It was amazing. Thank you for being here with us. And next week, we're going to do a live stream from Teatro Colón here in Bogota. We're going to record a piano in Ambisonic. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.